The river that drowns your memories. Nobody notices at first. The river seems ordinary, almost banal, crossing the landscape with the tranquility typical of any waterway forgotten by time. But whoever approaches feels something strange even before touching the water. It's not fear, it's a feeling of recognition, as if that river had already been part of your life, as if it knew things about you that even you no longer remember. Some say they heard their own names whispered by the sound of the current. Others swear that old memories began to surface without warning, memories they hadn't visited in years, mixed with images they didn't recognize as their own. The most disturbing thing is that no one notices when it starts. Only later, when they try to move away, do they understand. Something has been left behind. Because this is not a river that drowns bodies. It's a river that drowns memories. The river cuts through the region like an ancient scar, winding through dense trees and moss-covered rocks. The water is neither murky nor overly clear, just ordinary enough not to arouse suspicion. Still, there's something wrong with the surrounding silence. The birds avoid landing on the banks for long, and the wind always seems to change direction when someone approaches the water. The oldest residents learned not to stay near the river after dusk, not because of stories of drownings or attacks, but because of something harder to explain. People who spent too much time there returned changed. They forgot simple appointments, confused family names, lost objects they swore they had never left behind. At first, everyone attributed it to tiredness or old age, but the signs were piling up. A fisherman forgot the way back home even though he had lived there his whole life. A woman found old photos in her own house and didn't recognize the man beside her, despite the wedding ring on his finger. A teenager returned from a short dive unable to remember why he had been crying moments before. The river remained the same. Gentle current. Calm surface. No visible change. Just that persistent feeling that something was being carried away, little by little, whenever someone spent too long watching the water flow. Over time, it became clear that the river didn't act abruptly. It didn't rip away memories all at once. It started with the smallest ones, the ones no one misses immediately. Irrelevant dates, forgotten conversations, thoughts interrupted midway. It was too subtle to cause alarm, too efficient to go unnoticed for long. Those who spent hours near the shore reported a strange sensation upon moving away, as if they had just woken from a long dream, unable to remember exactly what had happened. The mind felt light, too empty, and this brought a deceptive calm. Some described it as relief, others as peace. No one realized that this tranquility came from the disappearance of something essential. Notebooks began to appear filled with confused notes, written by the same person on different days, but with handwriting and ideas that seemed unrecognizable from one another. Voice recordings revealed messages left for oneself, urgent warnings about the river, or pleas not to return. Those who listened to these recordings, however, did not remember making them. What was most disturbing was that the river didn't require direct contact. It was enough to observe the constant flow of the water, to follow the hypnotic movement of the current for too long. The mind would begin to give way, as if keeping pace with the river's rhythm, letting thoughts escape with the same ease with which dry leaves disappear on the surface. Gradually, some residents realized that their memories weren't just fading. They were being replaced by silent gaps, empty spaces where there should have been some emotion, some face, some reason to feel fear. And the less they remembered, the less reason they had to stay away from the river. If this interpretation is making you rethink this story, leave a comment below with your perspective. These videos are meant to provoke reflection, and I read all the comments. And if this type of content interests you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next ones. The problem wasn't just what the river took away, it was what it began to give back afterward. People who had spent too much time near the water reported memories that didn't seem their own. Excessively vivid dreams, fragments of memories without origin, unfamiliar faces appearing in their minds with an unsettling familiarity, as if they had always been there. Some woke up with the certainty that they had already lived that day before. They knew where certain objects would be, anticipated phrases in conversations, felt emotions linked to events that never occurred. When they tried to explain, words failed them. There was no logic, only the feeling that something inside them had been rearranged. Those who stayed away from the river for long periods noticed a different effect. Old memories didn't return. Instead, a constant restlessness arose as if something were missing, but without a name or form. The absence didn't hurt. It called. A silent, insistent call that pushed the person back to the bank almost without realizing it. Some tried to record everything. Diaries, photos, mind maps. But the records quickly became useless. Sentences written one day seemed strange the next. Photographs taken near the river caused intense discomfort, as if the image carried something that shouldn't be seen for long. Many tore them up, erased them, or threw them away without remembering why. The river remained the same. Steady current, low sound, ordinary appearance, but now it was clear that it wasn't just erasing memories. It was rearranging what remained, mixing what belonged to the person with something that came from within the water. And those who accepted these new memories, even without understanding them, began to feel that the river was not a threat. It was starting to seem like a necessary place. The final return was never conscious. People didn't say, "I'm going to the river." They simply got up, changed their usual route, followed trails that seemed too familiar to question. The body remembered the path even when the mind could no longer explain the reason. Each step towards the water brought a strange feeling of relief, as if something old was about to be resolved, as if an invisible debt was finally being paid. On the riverbank, the world seemed to lose its definition. Time slowed down almost imperceptibly. Thoughts became slower, less organized. Names lost importance. Dates became mixed up. Faces of loved ones appeared blurred, out of focus, while memories that didn't belong to that life gained clarity, like borrowed memories from someone who had been there before. The constant sound of the river filled everything, muffling any attempt at logical reasoning, enveloping the mind like a continuous whisper that said there was nothing left to decide. Some remained seated for hours watching the current, feeling the memories gently flow out one by one without pain, without shock, without resistance. Childhood became distant. Their own name sounded strange when remembered. Others entered the water slowly, carefully, like someone returning to a familiar place after a long time away. There was no panic. There was no struggle. Only the comfortable certainty that this was the end of a journey too long to continue carrying. The water didn't pull. It didn't drown. It simply enveloped. Each step into the river made the memories lighter, less defined, until they dissolved completely. There were no final dramatic thoughts, no farewells. Only inner silence, a calm, almost welcoming emptiness. When the body finally disappeared beneath the surface, there was no longer enough history there to resist. Days later, someone noticed the absence. A room that remained locked, a phone that no longer rang, a name that no one called with conviction. Searches were initiated, questions arose, but there was always something wrong. Details escaped them. Dates didn't match. Witnesses disagreed. The more they tried to reconstruct what had happened, the more confused the memories became, as if the river itself continued to erase traces in the distance, diluting the importance of that person from the collective memory. Over time, the effort lessened. The pain of absence ceased and began to seem normal. Photographs lost their meaning. Stories were forgotten amidst the sentences. It was as if that person had never occupied enough space to be truly remembered. The river continued flowing, always the same, always discreet, reflecting the sky as if nothing had been taken away. He didn't need to hide. Simply existing was enough. Each dissolved memory made the world a little emptier, a little simpler, a little quieter, and those who still passed by felt something difficult to explain. A profound nostalgia, a faceless longing, a feeling that something too important to name had been forgotten. Because the river didn't drown bodies, it erased stories, and when all the memories finally disappeared, there was no one left to miss them. Only the flowing water, carrying with it everything that once made someone exist. If you enjoyed this approach and want to continue exploring stories that are almost never told this way, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And now, click on the video that's appearing on the screen. It directly complements what you just watched. and may completely change the way you see this story.